All right, my friends. So I said yesterday we would be talking about this today. So let's just jump right into it because it's a big topic and a scary one, quite frankly. The question is, does it appear as though we are barreling towards a second violent insurrection sometime in the month of August? Now let's discuss that. First of all, why are we even talking about August? We're talking about August because the Washington Post and the New York Times and the National Review, a conservative leading outlet, have published articles over the last couple of weeks outlining to different degrees Donald Trump's belief or hope that he will be reinstated as president of the United States sometime in August of this year, meaning in just a couple of months. Now, as you know, and as I know, that is impossible. You and I know that reinstatement is not a process that is part of the American system of government. There is a president, there is a vice president. If for some reason the president is no longer president, the vice president becomes the president. There is a line of succession. None of it includes we go back to the previous guy who lost an election. It doesn't work that way. The next presidential election is November of 2024. Whoever wins will be inaugurated in January of 2025. But that doesn't matter to Donald Trump, and apparently it doesn't matter to millions of his followers around the country who are increasingly convinced, increasingly waiting for their fearless leader to be, quote, reinstated by the time that summer is over. There was a really good post on our subreddit that for some reason was since deleted by the person who posted it. And it asked, potential August insurrection, is it being overlooked? And the subreddit user pointed out they've been hearing from family in rural Missouri. They've been hearing from family in rural Wisconsin. And many of them are, quote, stocking up on ammunition and firearms for what is maybe coming in August. They talk about Trump's supposed generals that he has on his side and their expectation that there's going to be an attempt to take Joe Biden out of the White House and put Trump in sometime during August. And the Post pointed out something that's pretty astute, which is that the public-facing media story has been, Mike Flynn talking about there should be a coup, and Donald Trump continuing to say the election was stolen and we must do these audits, and Trump saying, I will be president again sooner than you think. But to people thinking about that below the surface, there is an incredibly irrational group of people who believe that that is a code directed to them, that they should be ready to take up arms against the government. And sadly, in practice, it may be functioning as such a code. Whether that's what Donald Trump intends or not, it doesn't even matter. In practice, it very well may function as a code in that sense. Our viewer wrote that many of the people that he's talking about aren't hugely visible online, but they are quietly stocking up ammunition, acquiring firearms, and preparing to do the worst if the time should come. They point out that the rhetoric they are seeing on signage in rural Missouri and rural Wisconsin has gotten crazier, about dead Democrats being the only good ones and other violent messages. So the question is whether the possibility of serious violence in August is being overlooked. I believe it's important not to be hyperbolic. I still think the most likely situation is when Trump doesn't become president in August. Not much violence will happen, certainly no big organized violent event, and they'll go and focus on November or the next January or whatever the case may be. That's what I think is the most likely outcome, and they'll put in place some new arbitrary timeline to look forward to. But there is precedent for these violent riots, and the precedent was 5 months ago when on January 6th, Trump riots took place in Washington, D.C., and we are still going through what are now, I think, 450 different court cases as a result. So what we can hope is that these folks that our viewer is seeing in Missouri and in Wisconsin and elsewhere, number one, are on the radar of law enforcement. If you come across someone you believe is planning to do violence, notify local law enforcement, notify the FBI. The FBI is taking this seriously. And number two, for the ones that are determined to do violence, hopefully it just won't be convenient for them to get themselves to Washington, D.C. It's horrible to have to count on that, but to some degree, I think it will be a factor that dissuades some of them as well. So I share the concern with you. at many times in history, even talking about, is it possible that the former president, who has continued to claim he actually won, will lead a riot in the middle of another president's term in order to try to oust that president? In many times in American history, it would be crazy to even bring this up. Sadly, right now, this has changed irreversibly. Because of what happened in January, we now have to take this possibility seriously. And it is a real possibility that they may do more of it. And so we're going to continue following it. We are continuing to see, what is the totality of what we're seeing? We're seeing what Donald Trump is saying, of course. We are starting to see an escalation in the violent rhetoric from simply Republican voters. We are starting to see both online and offline rhetoric become more radical. We are hearing from people coded language like, we're going to get the White House back sooner than you think, when it's like, well, you could get it back in November of 2024. That's the soonest. But they're going beyond that in the way that they're hinting and feinting. So that's FEINT. So unfortunately, I share this concern. I hope that there is no violence in August, but I worry that something is building here. And if so, I do hope law enforcement is aware of it. If you ever feel like you just don't have enough time to read all the books you want to read, you have to check out one of my favorite apps called Blinkist. Blinkist takes thousands of popular nonfiction books and distills each one down into an ebook or audiobook that you can get through in just 15 minutes, where you're getting all the key takeaways from the book. Just imagine how you'll be able to expand your horizons and knowledge by being able to soak up all of the important insights from 10 different books in an afternoon. Obviously, it's perfect for exposing yourself to a new book you otherwise wouldn't have time for, or you can use it to revisit a book you've already read, or use it to preview a book before you buy the full version and read it. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month, and you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.